Good evening. I am Mr. Militant Negro, and this is my YouTube network. I try to avoid making a voice video about this subject because a lot of times you don't get all the facts until it has been a while for an investigation to be complete. I'm talking about the Oakland warehouse fire in a building known as the Ghost Ship. 36 lives were lost. 36 human beings burnt up or were killed because of smoke inhalation. And it was all avoidable, very unnecessary, and just plain stupid. On December 2nd of this year, around 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, fire broke out in a warehouse known as the Ghost Ship. It was converted into an artist collective, and it also had unpermitted dwelling units. It was in the Fruitvale neighborhood of Oakland, California. At the time of the fire, the warehouse was hosting a concert without any permits for that concert, promoted by a house music record label named 100% Silk. Let me repeat that for you. It's a warehouse that was set up to have people living there, but it was not permitted to do so. And on top of that, they were hosting a concert for which they had no permits to hold that concert. There were no inspections. The place was illegal. And 36 people died because a fire broke out. A total of 36 people killed in the fire. The deadliest fire in the history of Oakland. It was also the deadliest building fire in the United States since the Station nightclub fire in 2003. The deadliest in California since the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. And the deadliest mass casualty event in Oakland since the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. This is tragic. It's horrific. It's a 10,000 square foot warehouse known as the Ghost Ship, home to an artist collective known as Satya Yuga. At the time of the fire, it was hosting a concert promoted again by a house music record label, 100% Silk, featuring musicians from 100% Silk's roster. 50 people were present in the building at the time of the fire. It took 5 hours for 52 firefighters using 14 pieces of equipment to extinguish the fire. Search and rescue deployed drone aircraft using thermal imaging, unsuccessfully searching for survivors. The roof collapsed, which made it unsafe for the firefighters to even go inside the warehouse. 36 people were eventually reported dead. Few serious injuries were reported. The sheriff's office said that it appeared the people either made it out safely or they didn't make it out at all. As of December 9th, all 36 victims had been identified. 17-year-old Draven McGill, who sang in the Pacific Boy Choir, was the youngest fatality in this fire. Wow, 17. I don't know, I'm somewhat speechless. I'm just curious, is anybody going to be prosecuted and get jail time, prison time for this? Because what it boils down to, my brothers and sisters, is this is mass murder. Whether it's intentional or not, whoever owned this warehouse, whoever allowed people to live in this warehouse, whoever hosted this concert without any permits and allowed these 36 people to perish in a fire should be accountable for 36 murders. It's not known what caused the fire. Burn patterns near the back wall on the first floor led to initial reports indicating the source of the fire may have been a refrigerator. How in the hell does a refrigerator burn down a warehouse and kill 36 people? Agents from the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives investigating the scene discounted the refrigerator as the source, but said they were looking at a number of electrical appliances, circuits, and wiring in the building. Now, this is an abandoned building, pretty much. So they didn't really have any electrical wiring inspection permits because everybody was there illegally. You see where I'm going with this? Negligent homicide. 36 cases of it. They reported that the fire on the first floor spread quickly and that individuals on the second floor were initially unaware of the fire. By the time they figured out the building was burning, smoke traveling up the 2 stairwells trapped them on the second floor. Neither of the stairs led to an exit. Multiple factors may have contributed to the loss of life. There were no fire sprinklers in the building because it was an illegal building. Don't forget that. Firefighters on scene heard no smoke detectors. Again, they were breaking the law by even being there. So of course they're not going to have sprinkler systems or fire detectors. Upon entering the building, firefighters found it was cluttered with furniture, art, and mannequins, most of which were wooden, which of course contributed to the spreading of the fire. Wood burned, art supplies burned, turpentine. My God, this is just ridiculous. Oakland Fire Department Chief Teresa Deloitte Reed told reporters it was like a maze. She said that it appeared that only one exit route from the second floor was makeshift stairway made of stacked wooden pallets. The stairway was quickly incinerated in the blaze, tracking victims on the second floor. So they didn't even have a way to get from the first to the second floor out the front or back doors. I'm just curious how human beings, sane, somewhat intelligent human beings, will even go into a place like this without thinking it's a fire trap or anything could happen. You don't even have to have a fire kick off. There could just be a stampede of people trying to get out because somebody shoots a weapon. I just don't get it, man. I don't get how people can be so stupid with their lives. In a December 4th interview with the Today Show, Max Orr, creative director of the Artistic Collective, confirmed that there were no sprinklers in the building. Orr also said that the collective had reported electrical problems to the owner of the building. That's really what I'm trying to get at here. Who is the owner? Who is responsible for allowing all this activity, from a concert to actual people living in an abandoned warehouse? Who's responsible for allowing that to happen? Who owns the property? A criminal investigation into the fire was launched by the Alameda County District Attorney's Office on December 4th. An arson investigation was also launched. Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf said charges against anyone found responsible could range from involuntary manslaughter to murder. The warehouse property is owned by Chor Nig, that's C-H-O-R, first name, last name is N-G, who is linked to 17 other properties in the San Francisco Bay Area. Before the fire, The building had already been under investigation by the Oakland Planning and Building Department for blight and illegal interior construction. Complaints of hazardous garbage and construction debris around the building had also been made. At least 10 complaints have been filed about the property since 1998. Most recently, in November on the 13th and 14th, city building inspectors visited the warehouse on November 17th, but left when no one answered the door. Wow. Inspectors are required to obtain permission from owners before they gain entry, and when that fails, they must seek a court order. A spokesperson for the Planning and Building Department noted that an event like the concert on December 2nd would have required a special permit, but none had been issued. The City of Oakland's planning director revealed that the building had not been inspected for 3 decades. But they still had people living inside this warehouse. They had an artist collective doing business inside this warehouse. But it hadn't been inspected in 3 decades. That's 30 years for those who can't count. This is fucking ridiculous, to say the very least. Although the building's owner did not intend the warehouse to be housing accommodations for anybody, especially artists, with all their flammable liquids and paints and what have you, the city is investigating whether people were living in the warehouse illegally. Well, of course they were. Mr. NG, that's what I'm going to call him because I don't know how to pronounce a name that's NG. Mr. NG stated that no one lived in the building, according to a translation by her daughter, Eva. However, neighbors reported that it appeared people were living in the building. One victim, Peter Wadsworth, was a building resident, so he lived there. Let's get this straight. There were people living in this abandoned warehouse. Squatting, for choice of a better word. Although the city had labeled the warehouse a fire hazard, the Ghost Ship's founder, Derek Almeida, allegedly did not respond to the city's concerns. Almeida has stated that his wife, Micah, Allison, his 3 children, and himself have slept inside his warehouse. Residents and others reported that he lived with his wife and children on the 2nd floor and rented space to as many as 18 others who lived in recreational vehicles and makeshift rooms on the 1st floor. God Almighty. The vice president of the local firefighters union said that the fire marshal's office had been understaffed for years. Yeah, they're about to start covering their ass real quick. And that a fire inspector seeing the condition of the ghost ship would have shut the place down. I'm just not really understanding this. Okay, you've got complaints that have been coming in to the Oakland Building and Planning Office since 1998. You've got people living in the place and people reporting that people are living in this warehouse that is abandoned and hasn't been inspected in 30 years. But now they want to act like they couldn't gain access to inspect the property. Now I'm just curious, if fire inspectors and building inspectors and everybody else who's an inspector in Oakland can't get inside this abandoned warehouse, how the fuck are the people who are living inside the ghost ship warehouse gaining access to their home? Because it was their home. They lived there. See how this doesn't make any sense to somebody with 2 brain cells working? Amazing. 36 dead people. 36 lives taken. In an interview, Oakland City Council member Noel Gallo said that city officials need to enforce the codes that we have and that we should have been more assertive in the past. No shit, Sherlock. The Oakland Athletics baseball team offered to match donations for those affected, up to $30,000. The Oakland Raiders football team soon joined them. The Oakland-based Golden State Warriors basketball team announced a donation of $50,000 to the Fruitvale-based Unity Council. I don't know what all these donations are going to do after the fact. 36 people are dead. So what are the donations going to do? Who's going to get the donations? Who's going to use the donations for what? I'm just not understanding. I really don't. On December 3rd, the record label 100% Silk posted on their Facebook page, "What happened in Oakland is an unbelievable tragedy, a nightmare scenario. Britt and I are beside ourselves, utterly devastated. We are a very tight community of artists and we are all praying, sending love and condolences to everyone involved and their families." I don't know, I'm 57 years old, and not once in my 57 years have I ever seen prayers and condolences bring anybody back from the dead. These 36 people who died during an illegal concert that was not issued a permit to be in that building, which was not issued a permit to even be open to the public, are dead. But somebody is going to send prayers and condolences to the loved ones and the families of those 36 dead. This is where the religion thing really irks me, because what God that you pray to on a daily basis would allow 36 people to perish in a fire? I don't want to hear this free will bullshit, okay? People have free will not to drop down on their knees and pray to somebody who doesn't give a fuck what's happening here on earth. I'm going to go off subject here for a moment. All these pedophiles and abusers and molesters of children and mass murderers, all these people who do evil shit, 9/10 of them are Christians, go to church every fucking Sunday, read the Bible, and can quote scriptures from the Bible. Yet still, they do evil shit. And now you got 36 human beings dead because some dumbass motherfucker decided he was going to charge people rent to live in an abandoned, illegal warehouse. Then he's going to turn around on top of that and hold an illegal concert with no permits whatsoever in a fire trap with no stairs between the first and second floors, no escape routes, no exit doors, no sprinkler system, no fire detectors, no smoke detectors, no carbon monoxide detectors, nothing. And you know this wasn't done for free. These people paid somebody to get into this concert. Then you're going to turn around and tell me somebody's going to pray? For what? To whom are you praying? I don't know what they're going to do with the owner of this building. I don't know what they're going to do with the people who actually hosted and put this party together, this concert. I don't know who's responsible for all that. I do know the city of Oakland is who I choose to put out front for this tragic death of 36 human beings. The city of Oakland fell flat on its face and did not do its job. You can't tell me that you sent out an inspector to a condemned, a vacant warehouse, and because they can't get in by knocking on the front door, they turn around and go back to the office. What sense does that fucking make? It makes no sense whatsoever. The city of Oakland is responsible for allowing this to happen, irregardless to what the owner did or the record company 100% Silk did, or the people who lived in this condemned building did, the city of Oakland should put a stop to this decades ago. That's their job. This happened because Oakland did not do their job. On the night of December 5th, hundreds of people attended vigils in Oakland and San Francisco in honor of the victims. That's not going to bring them back. Local residents, including artists and tenants' rights activists, have cited the fire as a symptom of the San Francisco Bay Area's underlying housing crisis. City inspectors have voiced suspicions that dozens of live-work warehouses similar to Ghost Ship exist in Oakland, but they're not doing anything about finding them and closing them down. On December 6th, Mayor Libby Schaaf announced $1.7 million in grant funding to create affordable spaces for artists and arts organizations. That's a little bit like closing the barn door after all the fucking horses have taken a stroll. She announced a planned revival and expansion of a task force on artist housing and workspaces, and the creation of a fire safety task force. All this bullshit should have been done 3 decades ago, not the day after these people are dead. Comparisons were drawn between the fire that happened December 2nd and the 1990 Happy Lane fire, a nightclub fire in New York City that claimed 87 lives. 87 lives. The Happy Lane fire also involved controversial operations of the structure and suffered from similar conditions, including lack of emergency exits and poor maintenance. Just think about that for a minute. In a city the size of Oakland, California, with all its money and its resources, I mean, they just named off a football team, a basketball team, a baseball team, trying to make donations after all these people have died. The mayor has got a $1.7 million grant from someone. I guess she pulled that out of her ass to cover her ass. But none of this funding and none of the thought process that's going on after 36 people are dead was ever utilized before these people were put in harm's way. You allow a building that should not have anybody inside of it because it's unsafe to house an artist collective. People living inside a structure that is unlivable. And you want to place the blame for this on a lack of housing. There are homeless people all over the United States, hell, all over the world, living on the streets, living in sewers, living in tunnels, living in under bridges and like trolls. You know what I'm saying? There are people who are living in conditions that should not be for any human being. And nobody is doing anything about this. Homelessness in America, which is supposed to be one of the top 3 wealthiest nations on this planet, is ridiculous. Veterans go and fight a war for this country, come home, and have to live on the streets because they can't afford a house, or they can't keep an apartment, or they can't keep their lives together because of several different factors. And they are permitted to live on the street. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. When 36 people died in a warehouse fire, living inside a warehouse they should not have been living in, people give donations. Grant money mysteriously appears out of nowhere. How about we get to the root of this problem? That everybody's busy lining their pockets in these offices, these civil servants, all these people who have a job that they get paid to do are too busy not doing their job. You can't tell me a city inspector will pass by an abandoned, condemned building and know that there are people living in it, because you can visually see this. They had complaints. They had complaints, people. They knew what was going on in this ghost ship warehouse. Ghost ship. What the hell kind of name is that anyway? The city of Oakland is responsible. The entire city, from the mayor down to the loneliest, littlest inspector of a building, are responsible. Electrical inspectors, fire inspectors, building inspectors, all the people who write codes for buildings. These people are responsible because somebody did not do their job. And I'm going to guess that it's more than just one group of people. The mayor's office has to know what's going on in that mayor's city. You can't be a mayor and not know everything that's going on. You hire people. You have a staff. These people are supposed to keep the mayor informed. They're supposed to stop things like this from happening. I can't say this enough. 36 lives extinguished by a fire, and the fire inspectors, the arson squad, tobacco, alcohol, firearms, explosives, they don't even know how this started. And this is the 11th of December, and this happened on the 2nd of December. You can't really grasp the scope of the dumb fuckery and the stupidity that would allow something like this to happen. How in the hell can you have a concert with loud ass music and speakers and instruments and microphones? How can you have all that going on in an abandoned, condemned warehouse and the police not know what's happening? So what you're saying is police don't patrol that area. So let's throw the police in there as the ones who are responsible as well. I've been to many concerts in my 57 years, and not one of them were quiet enough not to be heard 2 or 3 blocks away. That is why most times a concert venue is not in a residential area. These people had a concert going on, and it's like nobody knew about it. They advertised it on Facebook, but nobody knew the concert was going on. 100% Silk had a Facebook page and posted about their concert. Yet still, everybody in authority don't know nothing about it. Didn't know nothing about it. My heart goes out to those 36 victims' families, friends, loved ones. There's not even anybody that they can sue to get any compensation for this tragedy. Yet and still, people have the nerve to go on talk shows and tell their side of the story. And when I say people, I mean the building owners, all those folks in charge. Speechless. That's what I am, speechless. I don't get it. This could never happen again. It should have never happened in the first place. This is why I try to avoid talking about this, because it makes me angry. 36 dead lives. And I bet nobody knows all their names. I don't know their names. And people believe in God. what God would allow this. What God would allow 36 of his people to die. Y'all have a good holiday. I'm out of here.
Talking about the ghetto. Funky, funky ghetto. Trying to survive. Trying to stay alive.